I want to ask you a question, and that is, what is in your life's blueprint?
This is Jeremy Till, the host of the Operator Podcast. We'll be taking you on a journey with us, interviewing some of the top performers in their field on how they operate and get the job done. At the end of the day, we want to be our best. We're going to help provide the information, the data, and the science of how to achieve that, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Let's go! Let's go! Gilly Smith is our next guest on the Operator Podcast. It's such a pleasure to have Gilly on. She's such a unique person and heartfelt and passionate. Femme Royale, her brand, has grown to a national phenomenon from the East Coast to West Coast. She impacts ladies through her events, her apparel, and just her overall brand experience. What's neat about Gilly is she's been able to figure this thing out, bootstrapped it, and made it what it is today. Love to share her story and enjoy it. Awesome. I'm sitting here with Gilly Smith in Austin, Texas, and what an honor it is to have you on the podcast, kind of to see the growth. I know you made a post on social media today about kind of your history and creating everything you're up to today. So a lot of things happening over the last few years, and we're really excited to hear your story. And so welcome.
Thanks. I'm excited to be back in Austin. It's kind of a rebirth place for me to kind of where everything started. So it's exciting to be back here.
Yeah. So you're from Wisconsin.
Yes.
And they moved the CrossFit Games there.
I know. I'm so excited.
How crazy was that? Like, just to be like, oh my gosh.
It's pretty awesome. It's literally 30 minutes from where I grew up, and it's in my backyard. And Madison's an amazing city. It's actually very parallel to Austin, but just cold as all can be in the winter. But yeah, it's a great city. It's going to be fun. So I will have a booth there again this year. So yeah, that's going to be good times. And it's going to be a whole new dynamic of Midwestern people. So that'll be cool.
No doubt. So you're from Wisconsin, and I know you've kind of been across the country.
Everywhere.
And now, do you have a permanent residence?
Yeah, I guess I've relocated to St. Thomas in the Caribbean. So I've been living down there for like the last, I guess, 6 months. No, since November. So yeah, almost 6 months.
How's that been?
Great. I've been on and off a lot, so I haven't actually like been there. So I've had a lot just kind of going on to like business and events to take care of. So I've been on and off, and so I haven't really been there for a full month yet. Mm-hmm. But maybe, yeah. And then once I get back into event season, I'll be back on the road starting July to like October. Mm-hmm. So.
And then I always love your place in California.
I still have that technically.
Newport. Do you sublet that right now?
Yeah, I sublet it. So I have a girl, like it kind of lasts, so December 2015, I was like, I just want to travel. I just want to go on the road. So it all kind of fell into place. I found a girl to sublease my apartment within the week. She moved in. I packed up my stuff in a pod and got on a plane with my dog and flew home. Left her in Wisconsin with my grandma, and then went on a road trip for about 2 months. Ended up in St. Thomas, and then kind of came back to Wisconsin for the summer, and then got on the road again for all the events like later in the year, and then decided to move back to St. Thomas. So yeah, I did a lot of traveling last year.
And then what part of California is that? That's like, I know Newport's right around there,
so
but
Orange
what's the
County,
actual Orange County?
Orange County. It's like right in between LA and San Diego. Yeah. Yeah, but I love Newport.
I love that beach.
Me too.
Like, because what I love about it is like when you're there, you look back and see the palm trees and the little homes. Well, it's like so picturesque. Like if I was like, this is what California is, like that's that, like
me too.
It fulfills that picture.
I moved to California in 2006 to go to school out there, and I moved to LA, downtown LA, like 2 blocks from Skid Row, and I was like, what the heck is this place? I mean, literally straight from Wisconsin, not totally, small-minded or, totally protected, not just not exposed to a lot of big city living. So to be living in downtown LA was like a total culture shock. And I was like, where's the palm trees and the beach and, all the pretty things you see about California. So moving to Newport was kind of what I envisioned California like. So yeah, I do love some Newport.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So
tell me about, I was thinking like your movement and what you're up to and kind of how the origins of everything that you're up to.
So Femme Royale was kind of actually launched as a clothing line. So there was a company called Phenom. They were going to be like the CrossFit brand of like basically like what Hurley is to surfing. And so I was like, well, I want to do the girls line. I have a background in fashion merchandising. So I created this brand and like what it was going to be like. And long story short, I wanted to launch the clothing line with a women's event. Well, the event just blew up. It was awesome. There was such great feedback. Everyone loved it. It was a total hit. And it really opened my eyes to that it wasn't about the clothing. It was really about bringing the women together. Long story short, the Phenom ended up having to cease and desist. They didn't have trademark rights. So I was like, well, I'm still going to kind of do my thing. And I ended up being fired for wanting to pursue more events, hosting more women's events, which ended up to be in my favor. So after that, I kind of sought out another well-known gym in California, which was Valley CrossFit. They had a huge facility. A lot of girls came out of there for the games and, just really well-known reputation. So hosted an event there and then, just kind of.
And what year was this?
2013. 2013? Yeah, 2013. Yeah. So that was, and then, so I did a couple events in SoCal, and then I probably did 4 in SoCal that first year. And then I had one in Houston with a girlfriend of mine that came out to visit and wanted to host one in Houston.
So tell us about the events. Like, what does that look like?
So they started out, we did teams of 2 girls. I started out with RX division and a fun division. But as we progressed, I found that there's such an extreme difference between the two. Like we really wanted to get like the beginner athlete CrossFit athletes on the floor who had never competed, because back in the day, like anybody could kind of show up and compete. Well, it was progressing to the way that unless you were an elite athlete, you really weren't competing in competitions anymore. So it kind of opened up the doors to get women who didn't think they could compete in CrossFit on a competition floor. But with that, you have very beginner, novice athletes that can't do pull-ups, has to do push-ups on their knees. And that's a majority of the women. That's like 98% of most women. So we opened up a category called 50-50, because then, people were starting to advance and could do, unbanded pull-ups or strict push-ups, but maybe they weren't be able to do the muscle-ups and the more advanced movements like handstand push-ups. Because there is really a gap between the RX girls and the 50-50 and fun division. If you're elite, you're next level. You're out there. So we kind of offered it for all women. So that's, I think, really is what set our events separate from. So with 50-50, can you elaborate a moment? Because I'm not completely picking up. What do you mean by 50-50? So 50-50 was you were pretty much RX, like, back like the old girls workouts. Like you could do 95-pound Elizabeth with ring dips, but maybe like progressively over the years CrossFit has gotten extremely heavy and some of the movements are extremely advanced, so some people just aren't there. So we had a lot of athletes that were pretty much RX but not enough to compete at that level, that next step. So 50-50 is really kind of like you're in between, better than your fun division but not quite RX. And that is actually one of our probably most popular division in our events. But that I just found out by asking the girls what they wanted. I didn't really come up with that. Like they just like, what do you guys want, to see more of at our events? I would always send out surveys after the competitions, and one of them was, I can do pull-ups, but I'm not at RX level. But so then they would sign up for the fun and just crush all the girls, and they're like, that's not fair. So I was like, right. So we added a kind of in-between division for those girls. So it was just progression, over 2 years of doing, and there was more competitions coming about. So they had more opportunities to get comfortable with the movements and competing. And they just wanted something a little more than just the fun division. So that's how 50-50 came about.
So with 2017 kind of underway, like what does a year look like for your brand and apparel and the events?
So this year I normally I'd have an event starting in the beginning of the year, but I was kind of like, I just want to do event season instead of being so in and out of planning events and back and forth. So this past January and February, January I went to Wadapalooza and had a vendor space there. February, March, I kind of just have been lining things to ramp up for the event season coming up in July. But I've also been working on starting women's retreats in the Caribbean. So that's kind of underway and like figuring out how I can work that in from when it's off season from the events. So off season will be retreats, and then event season will be hosting events across the nation.
Mm-hmm. So. And when you talk about the seasons, are you specifically talking about the CrossFit Games season, from a sense the Open to regionals to the CrossFit Games?
I've noticed that a lot of like gyms, it's not a very good time to have events during right before, after the open season. So a lot of gyms get really involved in that, and that brings their members and communities together. So it's better to be either in between or kind of like right around the regionals, because then that way they can kind of focus on their training, and then the girls get excited about that. But during the open weeks, everyone's kind of focusing on those workouts, that kind of deal. So adding an event in that 5 weeks is kind of I haven't seen much attraction during those weeks. So so event season will really be from like July, August, September, mid-October for us, because it's kind of like the downtime. And most of the girls that do compete at our events aren't training for regionals or aren't training for, they're just training because they like to train and hang out with their girlfriends. And some of them are. Some of the RX girls train year-round, and they just like to kind of get out and compete and have fun with it. So
do you have like a monthly newsletter, or how do you stay connected to your community?
Recently found out about how important it is to be sending up newsletters and email lists. And I was like, well, I have tons of ladies' emails and a list, and I'm like, why am I not utilizing this? So, and after, a lot of we were just kind of using Facebook or Instagram as like marketing, but it kind of falls short, because if they're not following you, or there's all these like algorithms now, and so people were like, oh, I didn't even know you had an event. And I was like, what? We've posted it all over social media. So now I've taken all the emails and really have kind of kept them in the loop of what's going on, and that's made a big difference too. Even just for online sales for merchandise, I can announce, oh, we have a Black Friday sale, and otherwise they might not see that post, particularly on Instagram. So that way it's like coming to their inboxes, and like they can be notified of it.
So do you create your apparel lines based around the season or the competition season? How's that creation happen?
So to be honest, it's kind of just whenever I feel creative. Knowing the fashion industry, I should have like a spring winter line and summer spring season, but I haven't gotten to that much organization yet. Eventually I would like to have that kind of storyline of the shirts and stuff, but it's really kind of just been also when I have the funds to make new apparel. So that's just kind of been more or less my hobby and what I really, really love to do.
Yeah. So from that standpoint, as an entrepreneur, a female, creating a brand, creating apparel, doing events, from a funding standpoint, do you see this as what's your mindset, or how do you really produce that? Do do you do a GoFundMe to buy a volume of shirts? Do you just, how's that all work?
So since this started, I've had like no investment I haven't taken out any loans or anything. I've just used the money that comes. So events, there's a big flux of money that comes in, but there's also a big flux of money that goes out to host the event. Like I have to pay for insurance. I have to pay for, get the shirts. Fund pretty much all of the expenses for the event, and on top of paying out the gyms. And I have DJ and pay a photographer. So at the end of the day, the events are making minimal return, but it allows me to use that cash flow to buy merchandise. So at the events, I sell merchandise, and that's where I make revenue. And then now that I've been working those email lists, and I've really pushed my online store, which has helped out a ton, because then I'm not just sitting on merchandise on the off season, which I was kind of doing. So now it's really, I would actually say this last year was my full 100% commitment to Femme Royale. I've always had other things going on. Like I ran a gym, or owned and ran a gym for a year and a half, and that was like, I lived in that gym, and really kind of Femme Royale was more of a hobby. And then once I decided to really step out on my own 100% and not have a partner or somebody kind of also being responsible, that's when I was like, okay, I'm all in. Like there's no more like, oh, this is just kind of something on the side. I was like, this is how I'm gonna live, this is what I'm gonna do. And yeah, I mean, it's been a great learning experience. But it's also allowed me to do a lot of things that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do. But that's also kind of why I left California. Because like if I'm going to want to be traveling and doing this, I can't justify paying an absurd amount of rent. So that actually helped me travel more, because I was using that rent money to travel. So that kind of.
So tell me from the brand standpoint, kind of what is y'all's like identity or the purpose or like the mission? Or I know that you also look like you were doing some recording for the social causes and that you're into, but like what is the brand like? How would you describe that?
So Femme Royale, our mission statement is that it's an expression. So it's not just like, it's a lifestyle, so it's kind of a way of life that women want to live, like empowering their own life and just like deciding who they want to be and owning it. And, really whatever that looks like, whatever that is to a woman that can choose her path and lives out her life to the fullest, but also living with purpose, like not just like going through the motions and kind of, oh, this sounds good today, like having vision and direction for like taking control of one's life. It was really kind of like why I call it women's empowerment, just to like know they have a choice, and like choosing to make healthy lifestyle choices, choosing what they put in their body, choosing their mindset is powerful. So that's kind of really what the purpose, I guess, of Femme Royale is. And I obviously came up with the name, but femme is a very strong female word versus, like babe or chick or girl. And then royal is very regal. So like royalty and, and that's where kind of like the lioness kind of comes into play, being like the queen of the jungle type deal. So that was kind of the back thoughts on that. And then, really the goal, I have all these ideas and goals to create, but I kind of sometimes fall short because I have so much going on that I don't focus on just one, and then it's like everything's kind of happening at once. So I really need to sit down and like pick a few things and just like focus on them.
Well, what is it that what is the cause that you're working on right now? Or I see something that you're online with, talking about that. Is there something tied into that?
So, last year I raised, every event that I have, a big percentage of the profit goes to Bill's Tribe, which is this boys orphanage in Uganda that we visited last year. So, that's kind of when the main focus of where we've been working with this past year. But I kind of, after talking with Carrie and some other women, I almost not that I won't stop helping the boys' orphanage, but I want to work with like sex trafficking and empowering women to overcome, being exposed or falling into that kind of situation. And it's obviously they don't choose it, but helping young women have confidence and steer clear of being put in those situations. And that's something we recently kind of just started talking about. So that's a goal. That's definitely something I would like to get more involved with. But yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, like, are you in the pre-stages of doing retreats, or what does that look like?
So women's retreats, yes. They basically, what it would be a group of women who would come down. We would provide the living situation. It'd be like 4 or 5 days, like 5 days, couple 6 nights, or, and then we would do like outdoors outside or workouts outside. We work out at the CrossFit gym. We do like some vision boarding. We have like a girls' wine night, roll your own sushi night. It'd be just really encompassing like girls' weekend, but with purpose. So it's not to come and like go out, we'll maybe do like go on a boat charter, like go to, island hopping, but just kind of like really getting women together to cultivate that conversation of what they want and creating vision for their own life so they can go back and be rejuvenated and like take control of their situation or their lifestyle at home. So we'll kind of go over healthy eating and, workout tips and just kind of get them excited about life down in the Caribbean. So that's the goal. That will probably be kicking off next January. So we're actually going to do a raffle to give away 4 spots for girls to win that like retreat. And they'll have the opportunity to buy those tickets at the events this coming July.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's big.
I know.
Well,
it's going to be fun.
Yeah. So when is your next event?
May 13th in SoCal.
Okay. What box is that at?
It's at Pacesetter CrossFit in Anaheim.
Okay.
Yep.
Have you done an event there before?
Yes.
So how many women do the events?
We have, it depends. In SoCal, we sell out all of our events at 100 and 110 teams, so which is like over 200 girls. But same with Vegas. We've been there for 3 years, so that's usually, we have 90 to 100 teams. Denver last year, I think we had like 60 teams. So if it's a new city, we kind of veer around.
So you kind of already have a tour date and locations that have experienced and do your events.
Yeah, so I kind of want to emulate like a Ragnar race or Muddy Buddy or like calendar. So like every year we'll come back to the same gym kind of the same time so women can kind of look forward to it. That it just kind of keeps the planning more streamlined.
Yeah.
It's really the gym we choose is a big kind of plays a big part of how the successful event is or isn't. And everywhere we've been back to Red Wolf for 4 years now. We were at CrossFit Max Effort for the last 3 years, and then this year we'll be at Unorthodox, which is new for us. But CrossFit Max Effort had a gym; they're doing their own like event, so they lined us up with another good gym to kind of host. It's actually Eliza Muhammad's gym.
Okay.
So it'll be fun. We met his wife, and she's all about it. So his wife's kind of taking it over and is all stoked on it. So it's gonna be.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
So y'all, if people want to get online and find you, you're on Instagram and Facebook.
Yep. And we have a website. Our website has most of our information. It has all of our information. It has upcoming events. It has information about the retreats. It has another thing we're kind of working on is chapter leaders. So having women in different cities who are Femme Royale chapter leaders, which will host like get-togethers for women to kind of come and be a part of and give back to their local communities, whether it be working at a food pantry or getting together to do vision boarding or whatnot. So that's in the works, but we're just seeking out leaders to kind of take that on. So
that sounds great.
Yeah.
So for a young woman that wants to do a business and has entrepreneurial aspirations, what some advice you would give to her?
Don't give up. I think I've failed more than I've succeeded. And with those failures, I've always learned something from them. And I think that, there's days I'm like, why am I doing this? It'd be so much easier just to go get a job and get a paycheck and it's security. And then I think a little bit more, I'm like, I hate that. I hate being on someone else's time watch and like, so for me, that's just, I would not be happy doing that. So it's worth the kind of agony sometimes to continue down this road. So,
So what is some of the best advice that has been given to you?
Honestly, one of the this is it, which when you told me at the time, I was like, I don't understand what that means. I'm like, what is that? Like, I had no clue I'm like, what is this? What is it? Like, I did not understand. And then after going through Landmark, it really opened to my eyes of like the mindset and how we choose and like this is it. Like, this is our life. This is our time. We either make the most of it or we make the worst of it. And like, we choose to see the good or, kind of fall victim to our circumstance. And like, after that, like that honestly has always kind of stayed with me. Actually, I made a blog post or something about it once, and a girl from Austin that I had coached years ago, and mind you, I was just like an assistant. In my eyes, I was just an assistant coach, didn't know much. And she went and got that tattooed on her arm. I was like, I was like, wow. I mean, just so that, honestly, that words of advice was probably one of the biggest things that I carry with me still. So, yeah.
And then that's awesome. I wasn't looking for that response.
I know you weren't, but I honestly was like, okay, I'm not coming in here to like tell him what he wants. But honestly, that is, and like the other thing I think would be just like fortune favors the bold, and not fortune necessarily monetarily, but just like fortune in being able to do things that others aren't able to do, and you have to take a chance. And when people say you can't do something, to kind of maybe use that as a little fire to like follow through on things that others don't see you doing. So those would probably be the two biggest things.
And then I think you wrote down a book, or we're checking an author. Were you going to share a book with us?
Oh yeah, Lioness Arising was like a book I read regularly, or just kind of revert back to. It's just a really good kind of. I mean, for me, it holds weight because I'm a Leo, first of all, and then also I just love the meaning and symbolism behind lioness. Even in the biblical sense, lionesses come together and they take care of the pride. So it's a group of women that work together to care for their community, their family, and to me, that's just super powerful. And that's ultimately what I'm trying to emulate with Femme Royale. So throughout the book, she just gives these great examples of, how the animal kingdom works and how we're very similar to that as humans, and just, so that's probably my favorite or must-read book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I've really been getting into heart and thinking about that concept of what it means to live from your heart or to follow your heart.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean to you?
I mean, that's, I think that's something I've always followed through with. They're done. Growing up in a small town where everyone kind of, and I love where I'm from. I love everyone that is in my town. It's an amazing small town. But a lot of people they stay there because it's comfortable. And I always kind of had their desire to like get out and go see the world and, see what else is out there. And a lot of other people have too. I'm not like the one that has done that. But, just following where maybe it didn't make sense to others. And where I've gotten in, I've moved to 3, 4, almost 5 different cities. And a couple of them where I've known no one and have created community and like found family within those like places, which is not necessarily the easiest thing to do. But, I truly feel like listening to my heart and like not letting outside influence really kind of affect my choices which has been hard and good in the long run, I guess. But
and I know that you work with Crystal. She helps you with y'all's events, and I know Carrie's joined y'all in some of y'all's events.
Yeah.
So like, what do they mean to you, and like how has them being involved with your vision impacted you?
I mean, honestly, Carrie really changed. I mean, when I came to Austin, I was broken. Like, I was straight up like just a like sad person. And oh God, I'm gonna cry. She really kind of just like, she helped me.
It's good.
She really kind of just, she took me under her wing and like just helped me see the light and the good in things. And I mean, she's a big part of my life. And sorry. Like, having a strong woman like her really has encouraged me to like step out and do the same for other people, women. So yeah, I mean, she's a very special person. So, sorry, I don't know why I'm crying right now.
It's good.
But yeah, so having her kind of involved in, she has a lot going on her plate already. So, when she can kind of get away and come and help and spread her champion mindset with us, it's really powerful. And, there's not a day that I'm not thankful for having her in my life.
Yeah.
So, but, just over the years, we've always stayed really close, and like, she is like family. Like, she, when I was here, I would spend all of the like holidays with her, and I mean, you guys too, but it had a big impact on me. So, yeah,
that's awesome.
She's she's definitely a big part of, I would call her like a muse or inspiration for like why I started all this kind of stuff. So, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Anything else, Nicole, you think of? Anything else you want to share?
I mean, not really. I don't mean to cry.
Well, that's good. I think that's kind of good to cap the meeting, our interview on that. I really appreciate you sharing, and the power of the podcast and sharing this is that there's a lot of people that we find that are out there that they don't think they can, and when they hear a story like yours, they're like, hey, if she can do it, maybe I can do it too.
Oh, absolutely. And I still have self-doubt sometimes of like, who am I to be doing this? And like, I'm not any more, I'm not the fittest. I'm not, it's all these like kind of negative talk. And then I always catch myself. I'm like, no, there's a reason. And it's not, you're not like other people, and that's okay. And so really kind of reminding it's good to be who you are and not try to be like others. And that's probably the biggest kind of takeaway too that I've come through over the years as well. So awesome. We're all meant to do something different. So yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Cool. Thank you for joining us on the Operator Podcast. Please join us on our virtual platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we will see you soon.